This lesson I want to look at, we've been doing these arpeggios all over the place, and we want to, instead of just practicing them up and down, we want to kind of get used to coming across the guitar and mixing some of these positions together. So in this video we're going to look at staying in the key of A. We're going to look at this E shape, and how that blends in with this D shape, D7, which also blends into this C shape, this A dominant 7 here. So we've got so remember the cage system, if we're starting on the E, so this is the E shape, and the next shape is D, and then we go back to C. So this sort of exercise that we're doing today is going to span and use, you know, sections of these three arpeggios. Rather than just get used to knowing the arpeggio as a whole thing up and down, you want to kind of sort of get used to playing little bits and pieces of it, and knowing what the notes are, because that's the stuff that if you're playing over a blues or, you know, in a jam or in a song, whatever, that's going to stand out more than just playing this arpeggio up and down. I hope you know what I'm talking about. So let's look at this E one that we know pretty well. If we just go down to the bottom of the E1, we finish on this root on the high E 5th fret. It's nice to do these arpeggios. Remember, a dominant 7 arpeggio is 4 notes. So when we go from the root here to that root, that's a full arpeggio, and then we start it again and we span another octave of it. So it's the same order, same notes. So what we can do to slide up into the next position for this one, you can actually visualize your A minor pentatonic. And then there's your extension. Well, this extension, the root, and the 5 on the 9th fret of the G is part of the next arpeggio. So you can kind of visualize that A minor pentatonic under this stuff. So when we get to the flat 7 on the 8th fret of the B, instead of going to this root, we're going to slide up a whole step into this root here. So we're now in that D shape arpeggio. We could come back up that shape. There's that big stretch for the major third. Back to the root. Flat 7. That would be the full shape. The full shape is... We're not going to do that. We're just going to slide into this root, so we can still visualize that arpeggio. But we're going to come into this C position, which we've done, and I've done in a previous video, so maybe look back on that. So when we get to this root, our first finger naturally kind of falls onto the 8th fret. So if we grab the 8th fret on the high E and slide into the 9, that's our major third for the A. And then back to this root with our middle finger. And that puts us in position to come up this C arpeggio. We're going to add in the 4 as well, which isn't in the arpeggio, it's in the scale. So when we get here with our middle finger, there's our middle finger, we're going to come and grab the flat 7 with our pinky on the 12th fret of the G. And then so on the G string, our first finger is going to fall naturally on this 9th fret. So we're going to play the 9th fret of the G, which is our 5. Then again with our pinky already in position, we're going to grab the 12th fret of the D string, which is our 4. Then we want the major 3rd, which is behind the 4. So let's look at which finger we're going to use for that. Middle finger is going to slide up from the 10th fret into the 11th fret with that, which is our major 3rd. And that, if we keep that middle finger on there, we're in perfect position to just build this A dominant 7, which is kind of what you ultimately want. There's no exact right and wrong for which fingers to use, but as a guide, you want to kind of be in position to grab this chord. You always want to know where this chord is. We can grab the root on the 12th fret of the A, or we can also grab a root back to where we started, first finger, 10th fret of the B. Keep our middle finger on the major 3rd, and then grab that root with our first finger. Let them blend together, give it a bit of a shake. And if you notice what I did there, from the flat 7 to the 5, I did a pull off, which is a great exercise, a great thing to get used to. So we're pulling off the 12th fret of the G to the 5, which is the 9th fret of the G, where our first finger needs to be. Then we grab that 4, major 3rd next door, root. And then if we're on this root with our first finger, we can do a little major pentatonic run. Little B.B. King style major pentatonic run. Giving it a bit of a sting on the A on the 17th fret of the high E. Another thing we can do once we've got to this shape is bring that down a whole step, just slide it down, which is nice. That puts us in the land of A7. run. Wherever you've got that A, first finger on the A, we can do that major pentatonic. The fuck, I need a brew. Pentatonic. So wherever we've got that. The major pentatonic is always underneath this stuff as well, remember? There I did that same, I come into this C shape from my major pentatonic. There you go, right into that same root with my first finger, and then pulling off what we did for the arpeggio. There I was moving up into the next arpeggio, and I also mixed in a little bit of the minor pentatonic, because remember the minor pentatonic's always underneath this stuff. That time I went from this G shape. There's your G shape, so there's your A shape. Remember cage position, A. The next shape would be our G. It would actually be like this, but I don't want to break my fingers. So imagine the capo there is my finger on that A, and then we just have a G chord. That's an A. So we've got this arpeggio. We could just use part of this G1 to come up into the E shape. So there I was starting on the root, but instead of starting on this shape, I was starting on the G shape. Major third, fifth, flat seven. Remember it always does in the same order, whatever you know you start on. Root, third, fifth, flat seven. So we know if the flat seven's there, it shares the same flat seven as you see one here, but we're on a different finger. So we can then slide into our root, and that puts us in the E shape. And I went up to the next shape in the same order. Excuse me. So mapping out these arpeggios and chord shapes, but trying, obviously learn them, it's a good idea just to learn them going down and up, but don't always stick to that. Try and move them into position. So from here, I went from my A shape, basically, right into, back up to the octave E shape here. I covered the whole guitar just using arpeggios, chord tones for A. And obviously if you're playing over a 12-bar blues and you've got this stuff mapped out for A, D and E, you can start mixing and blending this together for whatever chord you're over, and then you're playing over the chord change. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.